you ever think about whether academic, really deep knowledge could actually change the world? Well, today we're diving into the story of a man who did exactly that. We're talking about a guy named R.G. Bhandarkar, and his life is pretty much a masterclass in how digging into history can become this powerful tool to challenge and totally reshape society.
Okay, so let's start with this quote from historian R.S. Sharma, because it just nails the two sides of Bhandarkar's life. On one hand, you've got this pioneering scholar digging into the past. And on the other, you have this incredibly courageous social reformer, using what he found in the past to build a better future. For him, you just couldn't separate the two.
All right, so here's the plan. First, we'll get to know the man himself. Then we'll follow his incredible academic journey, see how he turned all that knowledge into real-world social change, and finally, we'll take a look at the legacy he's left behind for all of us. So let's jump in. Ramakrishna Gopal Bhandarkar. He was born way back in 1837, in what was then British India. Now you have to picture this time. It was an era of huge change. Things were really getting shaken up as old traditions were clashing with new Western ideas. And Bhandarkar, he was born right in the middle of it all. From the absolute get-go, Bhandarkar wasn't just another student. No, he was a trailblazer. He stepped into this brand new world of Western-style education that was just starting in India, and he immediately began setting records.
I mean, just think about this for a second. Imagine being in the very first graduating class of a major university. He wasn't just getting a degree. He and others like him were literally proving what was possible. They were setting the bar for generations to come.
And his career just takes off from there. I mean, look at this timeline. He goes from being that first graduate to earning a PhD from a German university, which was a huge deal at the time. He eventually rises to become the vice chancellor of the very university where he started. He was getting recognized internationally, speaking in places like London and Vienna, and even serving on the Imperial Legislative Council. His influence was spreading way beyond just the classroom.
And this right here is the absolute key to understanding him. Bhandarkar wasn't just collecting dusty facts about ancient India for fun. By digging through old texts and reconstructing the history of different eras, he basically found the receipts, evidence from India's own past that totally undermined the social injustices he saw, like the caste system or the ban on widow remarriage. His research was his ammunition.
Okay, so now let's see how all this academic work actually translated into action. This is where his knowledge just bursts out of the university and right into the public square. He becomes this super active and, often controversial champion for social change.
Even when he was just a young student, he was already drawn to these reformist ideas. He joined something called the Paramhansa Sabha, which actually had to operate in secret. Why? To avoid a massive backlash from powerful orthodox groups in society. That tells you just how radical and even dangerous these ideas were back then.
But a few years later, that secrecy gives way to public action. Bhandarkar becomes a key figure in the Prarthana Samaj, and they made these 4 public pledges. This was such a bold move. They were putting it all out there, denouncing the caste system, pushing for widow remarriage, female education, and an end to child marriage. This wasn't just talk anymore. It was a clear public agenda.
And right here is where you see principle become practice. Talk is one thing, but actually building a school? That's something else entirely. He and other reformers helped start the Huzurpaga School in Pune. It was the very first high school for girls run by Indians themselves. This was real, concrete, groundbreaking change.
But not everyone was celebrating. The school's modern curriculum, teaching things like science and English literature, faced some seriously fierce opposition. And get this, it came from the influential nationalist leader Lokmanya Tilak, who used his newspapers to argue against it. This just shows the incredible courage it took for Bhandarkar to stand his ground. He was truly fighting a battle for ideas on multiple fronts.
So, after all of that, what's the lasting impact of this incredible scholar and reformer? Let's take a look at how his work is still very much alive today.
Well, his name literally lives on in this amazing place, the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. It's a world-famous center for scholarship, a direct continuation of everything he was passionate about. It's like a living, breathing embodiment of his belief in the power of deep historical research.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with this quote that just sums it all up. His research was never an escape from the world. It was his way of changing it. He was a scholar who looked back so that he could help move his society forward. For him, the two roles were one and the same.
Which really brings us to a final thought. Bhandarkar's life leaves us with this powerful question, one that's just as relevant today as it was more than 100 years ago. It challenges us, all of us, to think about that connection between knowledge and action. And it makes you ask, how can the work we do in libraries, labs, and universities become a real force for making the world a better, more just place?